created free, created me. I was brought into this world to live authentically, living my life, and it's full of freedom. Nothing in this world that I can't overcome, 'cause I'm created free, created me. I stepped out into this world with my audacity. I'm living bold and I'm full of life, 'cause I am perfectly created free. I'm loving myself, loving myself, loving myself, loving
Hey, beautiful soul. Welcome to the Created Free Podcast. I am your proud host, August Crenshaw, aka Mrs. Raw, Real, and Relentless. And you're here because the words created free sound good, but you're working on making it more of a reality in your life. So stick around as we discuss and challenge all that we know and feel about relationships, religion, business, spirituality, emotions, and so much more. Whatever life is throwing at us, okay? It's a topic of discussion. And then watch me show how this is impacting the way that you're showing up as an entrepreneur. So we're going to be challenging authenticity, and we're going to get to the root of who we really are and what we desire, and make sure we're doing everything that we can to manifest a life that we love. All right, so let's get into it. OMG. If you saw the title, and you did, you may be wondering, okay, what in the hell is August about to say? Everybody knows I'm raw, I'm real, I'm controversial, and I am going to talk about the infamous, and I say that just being silly because I'm not dissing the man, the infamous Kanye West. My question is Kanye a business guy? Remember how everybody was like, ooh, he signed with Gap, he signed with Adidas, he signed with all of these different companies, and they weren't even necessarily making that much off of the black dollars. But now that he's with them, look at how they've arisen. Grown, their profits and all that other shit, right? Then we get all of these, things happening because of his anti-Semitic remarks and stuff. And the most controversial thing to come up is basically the whole conversation about he loves Hitler, and he talks about the great contributions that Hitler has made to society. Okay, let's get into this. And if you are an individual who has spent more than 5 minutes talking about Kanye, or something provoked your spirit and you decided to take a stance because of what happened first with Kanye, then Kyrie, then Chappelle, and some of you reversed your stance and maybe you don't like him as much because of his most recent comments, I want you all to consider what this means about you as a person. Now, yeah, this is Created Free, the podcast where we're talking about creating freedom. And we can't talk about creating freedom until we really take a hard look at what we're entertaining and how we entertain it. It says a lot about us, okay? So who you are professionally and who you are personally, as much as you may desire to do so, you cannot isolate those two. So before I get into Kanye, let me just say this. I truly believe that one of the biggest issues in Black America when it comes to getting to that next level of greatness and breaking free from systemic racism and things of that nature is that it is damn near impossible for it to happen as a collective. And the reason is because we have been inundated with the Messiah complex. We are always looking for that next great leader, and we never even really truly pay attention to whether or not those people have been put into position, whether that is to guide the mission or to thwart the mission. Okay, so for instance, a Malcolm versus a Martin. The way that Malcolm was positioned was to thwart the mission. to cause chaos and division. The way that Martin was positioned, it has been to tame the movement and guide the direction that it will go. Because, of course, previous Martin was maybe a little bit more amicable, but towards the end of his journey, he was like, hey, you wrote a blank check and we gonna need you to cash out on that, homie, and really started calling out white America. And many people say, okay, the brother woke, he woke, and that's why they assassinated him. Well, that's typically what happens. And I remember being in St. Louis, and before I moved in 2014, the police brutality thing had really gotten out of hand. And I remember saying to my husband, hey, these niggas in St. Louis ain't finna keep on taking this. They probably finna start shooting at these doggone cops. And right before all of that could really go and swell up to a head and more black men were becoming militant, then we got us a black man for president. Once again, you may not agree with me, but Obama's positioning tamed down a lot of movements. People cried, and my grandma said one day that this was happening. Look at us, we got a black man in office. And I honestly don't know about you all, but my life didn't change because Obama was in office, no more than it changed when Trump was in office. And just for a little side note, you guys, I do want you to know, if I remember correctly from my research, Obama did give 12 million in reparations to the Jews. However, he just refused. He just let a few Negroes loose out of jail at the end of his second term. So hey, I'm already kind of throwing a little salt on some people that you may not even be able to finish this podcast episode. But nevertheless, we're always looking externally. We're looking for that black Jesus, as opposed to saying that I am a God and God is in me and what can I do? And whether some people believe it or not, many of you had a level of a Messiah complex towards Kanye. And he has, what I appreciate, the ability to be authentic. I'm not judging whether some of the shit he said has been absolutely insane or that it's been profound. He speaks his truth and where he is at. So let's, bring some of you all up to speed, because you may be like, I don't even know what you're talking about, August. Okay, good, but maybe you watching something else. That's your entertainment. But let me just bring you into this, because remember, everything that I talk about, we're going to make a connection to how this is impacting you on both sides, personally and professionally. So ultimately, he was being interviewed, and he was like, I don't like using the word Nazis, and, I love Nazis, I love Hitler, and that's basically what's being circulated. The context of the conversation is not there, where he basically says that I love all people. I love all people, and you basically can't say that Hitler was so bad that he didn't do anything good in his lifetime. And then he started, listing some of the things that he had did that he thought was genius. And whether you like that statement or not, let's look at it in its full context. So first of all, Kanye, whether you believe in it behaviorally or not, because he married someone like Kim Kardashian. No, once again, I'm just pointing out stuff without my judgment or my viewpoint on it. He's a hardcore Christian. Jesus this, and I love God, and Jesus. Well, what does Jesus say? Matter of fact, church folk, because a lot of you Christians, you follow me. Doesn't the word say that you can't say you hate your brother whom you seen, but love a God whom you haven't? And in church, haven't you always said, see, God loves the person, he just hates the sin? You have to put it in the context of his spirituality, that he's saying he loves everybody. Didn't Jesus love everybody? Did he not come and die so that anyone who would profess that he was the Christ and repent could be saved without judgment? So if Hitler was on his deathbed and professed Jesus Christ and repented of his sins, is he in heaven instead of in hell? I mean, we don't have time to debate it, but let's just keep that right there. So, Kanye may not always deliver information in a way that's more palatable for you. But when he said what he said, he was, what I would say, trying his best to love his fellow man. Now, so he's gone from having being accused of anti-Semitic remarks to now going to the extra level. Now, why did I bring this up in its relationship to business? Well, there's a guy that I follow online, and once again, he's very amazing. And he put up a post when this stuff happened, Kanye, Kyrie Irving, Dave Chappelle. He was like, bump that. I'm boycotting Nike and Adidas for X amount of period of time, and started stressing how we can't put our money into these companies because basically, August is saying it in her own words, they keep on wanting to buck break our black men like they did in slavery days. And he was like, we're not putting up with that anymore. They're not going to whoop our ass and silence us. And we're going to show them that they can't run us with, and we're gonna block that because we're gonna keep our money in our pockets. Now that's what he said, over a month ago when all of this other stuff happened. But now that the shit has come out with Balenciaga, with I Love Hitler, and all of these other things, the comment is like, oops, I guess I'm gonna go back to buying Adidas. It's so fucking crazy to me how we don't see how hard we are on each other and how easy we are on the oppressor. Like what Kanye said or not, agree with him 100% or only 1% or not. What still stands to be true is, wait a minute. So are you saying that you love Nazis? Because wasn't the whole dilemma with the fact that Puma and Adidas was originally created through Nazis? And so because Kanye has shown that he's gone crazy, you can go back to Massa's cotton field and now you're not picking the cotton for him to make the money. You're just working at a job or as an entrepreneur and then taking your money and giving it directly to Massa. So more time has been taken to speak about Kanye and how ignorant he is. And now that people have been disappointed, those who transitioned and changed their behaviors, as soon as one of us does something that we think is unseemly, before we realize it, we are back on the side with, yes, Master, we sick. Is we having a good day today, Master? And so what is this? What does this let you know? This lets you know that no matter how much money you make, no matter how successful you are and what you've accomplished in your life, we have an issue as Black people. We are still struggling. We're still struggling to navigate through this. I don't want to be evil like them. And I just want to love everybody. But at the same time, I want to help my community. I want to be there for my people. But you have a lot of shit to say about people who are willing to speak up. But you're not necessarily attempting to spearhead a movement your damn self. Entrepreneurship, honestly, is not just about people having a gift and then realizing that they can get paid. It has a lot to do with the fact that we want back control. We want freedom. We want out of the matrix. We want to create life on our terms. And when you look towards someone else to spearhead movements and speak up on things that are important to you, that means that you are afraid to be authentic. You are not unapologetically you. So what happens? For those of you that have spent so much time talking about how you disagree with Kanye and how he was stupid, he was bragging about billionaire status, he was so-called, he was a so-called business, professional genius. Now he's low-key the stupidest mofo on the planet. What does that mean for you? What are you doing? How are you showing up? Where is your genius coming out? You could be doing exactly like I've done. I mean, I want to speak about this, right? Because it's I find topics, I see shit, something sparks in my mind, and then I use it. I bring it to you all to discuss it, to challenge the way that you all think and feel. And it is also potentially, everybody and their mama doing it, but it is also a way potentially to get more people to listen into my podcast, because people love to be nosy when it comes to negative shit. And you just happen to come here and get the reverse of that, because Mrs. Raw, Real, and Relentless is here to say to you that you need to be more focused on paying attention to how you feel about other people. What about their actions and what they say bothers you? Because if you're very critical of Kanye, it means that you're also very critical of yourself. The longer you are on this journey, the more you pull back. I can honestly say, if I really, really want to evaluate myself, I was a lot more judgmental in the beginning of my journey. Sure, I may have said that, I was just about beasting and doing what you got to do, and I couldn't stand these other lazy mofos. But honestly, the bottom line is that I was speaking very passionately, sometimes maybe even vehemently, about certain topics because of the way that I felt about what I had accomplished or not accomplished. I wasn't complaining and looking at I wasn't complaining about other people and looking at myself saying, damn, I need to step my game up. I was looking at a point of advantage and then looking at what other people were doing because I still wasn't where I wanted to be. Basically, there was a level of entitlement that was inside of me. Look at these people that don't hardly post, that ain't putting out offers during the holiday, and here I am writing books, doing podcasts, hosting summits. These people ain't serious. They don't want to be successful for real. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, as much as I've done, I should have hit this level of success already, instead of realizing I had my own journey to go through, and there were certain things that were inhibiting my growth until I got it together. And it had nothing to do with anybody else. So yeah, you could look at a person and evaluate them and what they're doing one way. It doesn't mean that it is the exact mirror image of you in reverse. It means that you're weighing their value and your value, and you found a point of reference to demonize them, but subconsciously or even consciously, it equally demonizes you. And so when you become patient with yourself and show yourself some grace and compassion, and you go on the journey, then the comparison continues to reduce. See, that's an ugly ass shadow, to admit that there was a level of comparison there. But when it reduces for you, then you respect the journey of others, because on the outside looking in, it could look like somebody isn't successful because of A or B. But think about this. There's an individual out there right now who maybe they only post two times a day. And maybe it's only like 4 or 5 days a week. But when they do show up, they are very laser focused. Perhaps they're a single mom and they have to work overtime on a consistent basis. Perhaps they only have barely 2 hours a day during the week and maybe 3 or 4 hours on the weekend because of the extracurriculars and stuff for their children to work their business. And what they're putting out there is all of the effort that they can, and they get rewarded because they keep humbling themselves and they're showing up. And even though they don't like their graphics and they're working on that copy muscle, people are actually seeing their journey and falling in love with their growth. Whereas you, on the other hand, could be showing up 4 or 5 times a day, but you're spammy as fuck. You don't want to embrace your marketing muscle. You're just putting out random shit. You're not intentional, and you're wondering why they keep coming out and they close X amount of sales and they get to walk away from their job, and you're still working a job, putting in more time than them, but the level of potency and passion is not there, and you're not reaping the same rewards because spirit wants something different to grow inside of you. So I had to learn that, it's like, hey, if I get to talk to that sister and I get to hear her story and I see what she's doing, then I could see that she actually has more heart and belief in herself than some of these other people who may be trying to hire the problem away, or they look the look, but they're not. And so, yeah, as you can see, we didn't stay on Kanye that long. I put in my points. Let's not overshadow all of this shit. The Messiah complex. That can go back into coaching as well. A lot of you are not embracing coaching with individuals like me because we're telling you to do the fucking work yourself. You would rather get into these programs where you're actually looking at the leader or leaders as a fucking God, and you are willing to hang on every word and do everything they tell you to do. I love it when my clients give me pushback. because then we can have dialogue. And I always tell them, I'm not giving you pushback because I'm trying to control what you're doing. People call it playing devil's advocate or whatever the fuck you want to. But what I'm doing is I'm making you fucking think. I'm helping you weigh your value systems. And so the immature clients think that I'm aggressive and I'm antagonistic. The mature clients say, okay, I see how she's really seeing if she can push me over to that side or that side. Because if I make them sway, then I can look them dead in their face and say that you don't really know what you want. And that's why things aren't working out. So the Messiah complex and the way that some of you bandwagon for Kanye and other leaders, these other profound members of society that are successful and happen to be African American, Black, whatever you want to call it, that Messiah complex, you're getting so upset when they're not showing up the way you think they should as a leader because you are not being the fucking leader that you should be. Okay? So we talked about the Messiah complex. We talked about being unapologetically you. We talked about operating from the God in you, your self-evaluation. How are you comparing yourself, measuring yourself against others, the level of grace and compassion and love you show towards yourself versus other people. Like there was a lot of juice in here. There's a lot of points of reflection in this podcast. If you want freedom, you need to be able to be resolute that you too could be like a Kanye. You could say something that people take one way today and say something else tomorrow that people take another way. Sometimes his messaging is an outright contradiction. Sometimes you have to pay attention to the fact of whether or not you're listening to something that he said 10 years ago versus something that he said today. There are things that I've said in the past that you can't get me to state anymore, but that's because I evolve. See, what we don't realize about the truth is that there's the overall universal truth that never changes, but there are other truths that exist. And in that moment in time, your truth is your truth. And my truth is my truth. And our issues may contradict, but what we're having to experience and live out is completely different. So we could have the same truths simultaneously that are opposing each other, but are still true in each person's unique realm. And as we grow and we evolve, we have the right to say, okay, if you need me to address what I said in the past, I retract it, because now in this new found level that I've gone to, I am at a different level of belief. It's called growing. But we live in a world where we're supposed to be so perfect and we have to take stances and we can't look stupid and we can't, disavow whatever it is that came out of our own mouths. So yeah, I want you all to think about these things, because getting clear on who you are and allowing yourself to grow on the journey is one of the biggest levels of freedom that you could ever give to yourself. And embracing the growth and the changes in the journey is what will allow you to feel good. Feel really, really good about being an entrepreneur. So anywho, you guys already know I am here for you. I'm here for you. And up-leveling your mindset and showing up as a boss in business, it's required if you truly want to be successful and you want to keep bringing in that paper. But I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I'm not going to hard pitch you today. Just understand that the shit that I talked about today, and from a mindset perspective, that has to change in order for you to show up with power with your brand. And that's what I'm here for. So I'm going to get out of here. I'll see you all on the next podcast episode. And yeah, I love you. And till next time, deuces. Yes, thank you for tuning in to the Created Free podcast. But it ain't over yet, baby. Don't forget to head over to augustcrenshaw.com/gift and get your free case study. I'm hoping that you are realizing more and more how everything is connected, and this is impacting how your marketing muscle looks in your business, especially as it pertains to copy, video, and then also your sales muscle. Don't forget to subscribe and give us a 5-star review. Share this episode with someone you know that needs it, and just stay tuned, and we'll be back to discuss another topic next week or whenever the hell I feel like it. All right, you all have a beautiful day. Deuces.